I'm Melissa Chandler, and welcome to After the Unthinkable, a podcast where I share what it's like to survive the things you think you can't survive and how to move forward one step at a time. So, today's episode is part of my Fight for Change series. And today I want to talk about something that is not emotional at all. I want to talk about money because there is a bill that comes with surviving violent crime, and almost nobody talks about it. When you lose someone to violence, people understand that you are grieving. But what they do not understand is what it does to your finances and to pretty much every other part of your life. There are obvious costs like funerals, travel, time off work that you didn't plan for and could not have saved for. But the real damage is slower than that. You cannot concentrate at work for months, maybe years. Your performance slips. Sometimes your job does. Sometimes you leave a career you were good at because you can't function in it anymore. And the version of your earning potential that existed before is just simply gone. Especially if there is a pending case, you can't plan. You cannot commit to a new position without explaining that you may need to disappear for weeks with almost no notice. So you stay small and you stay flexible and you take work that does not require anything of your future because your future is being held hostage by a court calendar that you do not control. And then there's healthcare. You need care more than you ever have in your life. You need therapy, you might need medication, and doctors for the things that stress does to a body. And you are least able to afford it precisely when you need it the most. That is essentially the bill. And it arrives quietly over years, and nobody warns you it's coming. So now I want to be fair. There is help on paper. Every state has a victim compensation program. I do know that they can help with funeral costs and some medical expenses and counseling and lost wages. I do believe that those programs matter, so I do not want to take away anything from the people that run those programs. I think that's fantastic and probably a really helpful tool for a lot of people. But here's the reality. Most families have no idea that exists. I didn't. I had no idea. Nobody hands you a form on the worst night of your life. If you don't know to ask, you just don't get it. But what I do know is that the applications have deadlines and documentation requirements that assume you're functioning at a level that you're probably absolutely not functioning at. The counseling coverage is usually capped at a number of sessions that was never designed for a case that drags on for 6 or 7 years. And so the support runs out way before the trauma does. Um, but almost none of that accounts for the slow grinding loss, the career that never recovered, the promotion you couldn't take, the years of reduced earning because you could not plan a life around a trial date that kept moving. So the money runs out and the case keeps going, and families are left absorbing the cost of a crime that somebody else committed. So I want to say clearly why I am talking about this. I know that this is an uncomfortable topic, but the truth is that financial stress is not separate from healing. It is one of the biggest obstacles to it. You cannot process grief well when you are lying awake doing math. You cannot get therapy that you cannot afford. You cannot rest when you are picking up extra shifts to cover a financial gap because you left your career. And every one of those pressures makes the trauma harder to carry, which makes functioning harder, which makes the money worse. It is a loop, and many families get stuck in it for years, and it is invisible to almost everyone outside of it. So here's what needs to change. First of all, every family of a violent crime victim should be given information about victim compensation immediately and in writing by someone whose job it is to make sure they receive it. Not a pamphlet on a table, an actual person following up. Because if a family has to discover the help on their own, the help does not really exist. So, second, this is huge, and this I really, really, really firmly believe. Mental health coverage for families of homicide victims should last as long as the case does. Not 6 sessions, not 1 year. If the state is going to take 7 years, 7 or more, to bring a case to trial, then support for the family should be available for those 7 years and beyond. The trauma does not conveniently expire when the funding does. Third, compensation programs need to account for long-term economic harm, not just immediate expenses. I'm talking about lost career trajectory, reduced earning capacity, the cost of years of instability caused by a legal process the family does not control. And fourth, I believe that families should have employment protections tied to criminal proceedings. If a court requires your presence or repeatedly cancels on you, your job should not be the thing that pays for it. None of that is radical. It is just acknowledging that the harm did not stop the night the crime happened, and neither should the support. So if you are a family in this right now and you are quietly drowning, financially or otherwise, while everyone thinks you are only grieving, I see you. It is not a personal failure. It is a cost that was handed to you, and it should not be yours alone to carry. So, as always, thank you for listening to After the Unthinkable. I will be back soon with another episode, but until then, keep going. You are stronger than you think.